Here on Missing Persons Archives, we often cover stories of people who seem to vanish into thin air. Children, adults, even entire families, gone in an instant with no trace left behind. But every now and then, a case surfaces that's so bizarre, so utterly surreal, it sounds like science fiction. A story so confounding, it defies even the most logical explanation. This is one of those cases. A pilot, a crashed plane, and no one, not even trained investigators, can say where the pilot went. Because when rescuers reached the wreckage, the pilot wasn't there. There weren't even footprints in the snow. Let's take a closer look at the chilling disappearance of a man who may have vanished, literally, mid-air. Welcome to Missing Persons Archives, a channel dedicated to sharing real stories of those who vanished without a trace. Here we explore the facts, the timelines, the investigations, and the unanswered questions behind each disappearance. These are more than cases. They are people, and every story deserves to be told. Subscribe and join us as we shine a light on the missing. It began on March 15, 2017. A small, single-engine Cessna 172 Skyhawk took off from Ann Arbor Airport in Michigan. The flight was bound for Harbor Springs, another destination within the state. Nothing was out of the ordinary during takeoff. The plane was operating normally. The pilot, a 27-year-old Chinese graduate student at the University of Michigan, was reported to be flying solo. But later that night, at exactly 11:38 p.m., Canadian authorities received a report of a crashed aircraft in a remote area of Ontario. The wreckage was located 37 miles east of Marathon, Ontario, along the rugged northern shore of Lake Superior. That crash site was far from the flight's intended path. And that was just the beginning of the mystery. When the Ontario Provincial Police arrived at the crash site, what they found left them stunned. The Cessna had clearly gone down. It was broken, battered, and completely out of fuel. But what investigators didn't find was even more unsettling. There was no sign of the pilot, no blood, no injuries, no body, no footprints leading away from the scene. The plane's autopilot system was still engaged, suggesting that it had been flying itself when it eventually went down. Sergeant Peter Leon, a spokesperson for the Ontario Provincial Police, made a public statement that only deepened the confusion. "We conducted a thorough investigation and were unable to locate any life associated with that wreckage. It would appear the pilot left the plane sometime before it crashed. Exactly where, we're not sure." Left the plane? Before the crash? Without a parachute? That's where the mystery takes a strange and unsettling turn. The plane was registered to the University of Michigan Flyers, Inc. The organization confirmed the aircraft had been signed out by a Chinese graduate student, whose name has never been released to the public. He was an experienced pilot still actively studying at the university, but now he was gone. The prevailing theory, as it made its rounds through the media, was that the pilot had placed the plane on autopilot and then jumped. Whether it was a suicide, an accident, or something more nefarious, no one could say. But here's where the theory starts to unravel. The Cessna 172 Skyhawk isn't built to accommodate parachutes. There's simply no space to store one on board. And yet, there's no physical evidence that he died in the crash, or even that he was in the plane when it went down. If he had jumped to his death, as some suggest, where's the body? Where are the remains? Why hasn't anything turned up? As news of the incident spread, speculation exploded. Was this an elaborate attempt to fake a death and disappear? Was it a mental health crisis that ended in tragedy? Or did something far stranger take place? Something no one has the tools to explain. Some theorists believe the pilot was trying to escape something, or someone. Others claim the flight path, the disappearance. and the lack of any physical evidence points to something beyond ordinary comprehension. There's even the chilling suggestion that the pilot was never truly alone, that someone else may have been on board, undetected, and responsible for what happened next. But all of that is speculation, because the one thing everyone can agree on is that this case makes no sense. What happened to the pilot of the crashed Cessna? Did he jump, vanish, or was he never on board to begin with? Years later, and we're still left with more questions than answers. This case reminds us that not all mysteries come from the past. Some are recent, raw, and disturbingly unexplainable, unfolding in our modern skies. As always, if you have thoughts, theories, or know more about this story, let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story compelling, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned, because on Missing Persons Archives, we're not just telling stories. We're preserving the unsolved.